you to the ground floor. And then our assembly point is outside this particular building. It's actually clearly marked. For your information again, Crown Plaza have an emergency response team. So should there arise any emergency, we have a team dedicated specifically for that particular function. So they will actually be the ones to guide you. As I said, we are not anticipating any drill. So should you hear any evacuation order, the evacuation order will come through these speakers. It's actually audible. So you can be able to know that you are actually supposed to, evacuate this particular building. So those are the exits, the major exits. And then Crown Plaza again, our security is derived from our CCTV surveillance backed by man guarding. We also have armed the police officers who are guarding this particular premise. So should there arise any threat, be it internal threat or external threat, we have the capacity to handle the situation before even we involve them. So I can assure you that you are safe while at Crown Plaza. Our food, again, because I tend to believe that we are all farmers. I'm also a farmer, and I support Yara very well. So our food, we operate under what we call HACCP, Hazard Control Critical Point, whereby our food right from the farm, receiving, storage, and finally production is hygienically well taken care of. So whatever we are giving you is actually fit for human consumption. So you should not worry. We have never had any issue of, the issue of what you know the food about food, but it's actually well taken care of. So you should not worry. And if you are again on diet, you need to tell us so that at least we also take care of you, because we need you, to enjoy our services as well. On washrooms, as Dorina mentioned, as you walk from the lift, on your right, immediate right, we have the gents, ladies, and then we also have washroom for person with special needs. We are actually taking care of each and every person. So we have them on the right wing. I believe that you had some challenges when accessing this particular building. This building, for your information, is security designed. Security designed in the sense that accessing this particular place is a bit challenging. But we have the lifts on my right. We have the 3 lifts. Those lifts will lead you, if you are actually exceeding from this, this particular wing, it goes you to the ground floor, and then you exit from there. Then, if you want to join the main hotel, you alight from that floor. There is a corridor which will actually lead you to another lift, which will lead you also to the main hotel. You press 1. So it's actually challenging. And then we also request you, while in the lift, because the lift open both ways, so you need also to take the security precaution by ensuring that you stand inside the lift, not on the doors of the lift. That's a security feature as well. Other than that, I think because of time, so we have actually known, should there arise an emergency, where to go, the exits, we utilize the exits, and then the most important thing is we have the emergency team on standby. So with those few remarks, unless there is anybody who has any question to ask or other clarification. Do we have anybody? No. Okay, if we are all set, then once again, welcome to Crown Plaza, and I wish you a productive and safe meeting. Karibuni sana. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Correa.
Sorry, sanitizers all over. So make sure that you sanitize. Of course, you have your mask and then the social distancing. It's actually very important. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. So I would like for us to, like I said, to be as interactive as possible today. And because there's so many other people who are watching us online, this particular gathering is also being streamed on YouTube and Facebook as well as Twitter, and that is on the Yara Kenya handles. So if you're able to go through your social media, you could probably also recommend it to friends out there. But because we couldn't have everybody in this hall because of protocol, we just had to make sure that everybody is involved watching from out there. So let me start by telling you a story that I covered in Nyeri. I think in December of 2021, I went to meet a farmer whose grandfather started growing coffee, Arabica coffee, in Nyeri County. And this coffee farming was carried on by his father, and his father passed it down to him. And so it had been, as at December of 2021, it had been 76 years since his family was growing coffee. But one thing that really got me thinking was the soil. You know, we always tend to think soil will always be there. It will always find its way around fertility. But he actually explained to me how climate change has sort of changed how the soil is adapting. And as we all know, if you look back at 76 years ago in Africa, probably you would just get a seed and you dump it somewhere and it would grow. You know, a plant would grow out of that soil. But 76 years on, it's a different story altogether. And the fact that we have a bulging youth population who are just now starting to get interested in agriculture. The average farmer is right now about 60 years old, or has been 60 years old for the longest time. If you compare that story of soil and climate change to what's happening today as we speak, you'd actually realize that there's so much work to do in agriculture than we actually thought. So this gentleman was telling me that it's not just an issue of the coffee tasting different, it's now an issue of climate change. How are we ensuring that our soils are adapting to the current climate or the effects of climate change? And sustainability, how are we ensuring that this soil is as fertile as it was 76 years ago, so that he's able to still sell his coffee at the expected taste that it was 76 years ago. And that, for me, I found was quite challenging, because we always tend to think, I'll go to the market and buy whatever, but we never really contextualize what is in between. Has the price changed? What did the farmer have to go through to bring this coffee to our cups that we have had this morning? So when you contextualize all that, it sort of puts into context why we are here to talk about thriving farmers and thriving futures, because everything plays into the future and everything plays into sustainability. But there is a challenge in between, that when the 60-year-old farmer is 80 years old, he's not going to be as strong, as energetic as his son or his grandchildren. And so that in itself needs to come round circle and involve more young people into the farming process and understanding what sustainability is all about. And Yara has made this easy by making sure that we have a leadership academy that is going to train about 500 young people, or in this case farmers. I guess I don't think it's limited to a certain age group, but I guess 18 and above, on how they can go about today's 21st century farming, I guess. And so I want to start by allowing us pin our eyes to the screen so we can watch this video just for contextual purposes before we can have the Vice President for Social Impact, Africa and Asia, to come and speak to us a bit more about this.
How do we continue feeding the world without consuming the planet? In every part of the world, we're facing growing crises that are devastating food security and pushing nature to the point of no return. We still have the chance to make better choices. Alongside farmers, businesses, governments, and everyone across the food chain, Yara is committed to growing nature-positive solutions that can lead to real change and a food future for all. From deepening climate crisis to growing clean carbon resources, from declining farmer livelihoods to growing paths to prosperity, from depleted lands and soils to growing regenerative, healthy farms, from decreasing food security to growing access to abundant, nutritious food, from despairing for our food future to growing the courage to transform. In every part of the world, it's time to grow a nature-positive food future for all. No one can do this alone, and there is no time to wait. Let's commit to real change.
Right, let's commit to real change. And with that, I would like to invite Ms. Subhashni Chandran, who is the Vice President, Social Impact Africa and Asia, Yara Africa, to make her remarks. Oh, a round of applause for her.
Thank you, Joy Doreen, and good morning, and a very, very warm welcome to our partners, friends from the media, youth champions, and dear colleagues. Thank you. Karibu sana. I'm ever so delighted to be here with you today. And it's hard to express in words why, but I will try. First and foremost, it is an honor to have the opportunity to share with you a very few special updates from Yara, which are the fruits of a year of relentless purpose, passion, and labor. The video you saw just now gave you a sneak preview. In December 2021, Yara International announced a new global ambition to grow a nature-positive food future on the back of a significant transformational strategy process. Key to this was expanding our view of the food system to capture the irrefutable interplay between food and nature. Yara has a unique competitive advantage that might be familiar to some of you, but perhaps not all in the room. But that competitive advantage is embodied in our talent, first and foremost, our people, our unparalleled agronomic knowledge offering, trusted relationships with farmers over 100 years, and a global footprint across more than 60 countries. We are leveraging these strengths to expand and deepen our impact. As a pioneer in regenerative agriculture, as I said, for more than 100 years, we are aligning with the current developments in the food system by enhancing our interaction with farmers and the broader community. So this, for us internally, is a historic moment and year. Yara will achieve this ambition by actioning 3 key focus areas: climate neutrality, regenerative farming, and prosperity. On the back of this new ambition, the company has made 3 time-bound commitments: to become climate neutral by 2050, advance prosperity for 50 million farmers, and support 80 million hectares with regenerative agricultural practices by 2030. Audacious goals, a short date, but responding to the needs of our time. Inspired by the company's bold direction, the Yara Africa and Asia business unit went a step further to create a social impact framework with more granular targets on inclusive prosperity. Our efforts under the prosperity pillar will be in 4 interconnected areas. Yara will work as a catalyst to drive inclusion and empowerment for farmers and agribusinesses, enable economic opportunities for women and youth in agriculture, accelerate growth for micro, small, and medium businesses within our communities, and continue contributing to food security evermore. In the first phase, we will focus our investments on 9 countries within the Africa and Asia Business Unit region, of which 5 are on the African continent: Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, and Ghana. The thematic areas are heavily guided by national development agendas and priorities of each of these countries. You will hear more about what this means for Yara Kenya from my good colleague and Yara's leader in Kenya, William Nieno, a little later this morning. Perhaps this is, sort of preaching to the converted, but let me say, as part of my concluding remarks this morning, vibrant economies and prosperous communities make for healthy societies. I think on that all of us in this room are agreed. This requires fresh ideas, new operating models, and the courage to lead on uncharted waters to grow together. We look to the ecosystem, to government, peers in the private sector, startups and young innovators in the room today and those watching live and beyond, our farmers and channel partners, to join hands with us to realize our bold ambitions, to own this agenda for an equitable world, to bring everyone with us on a journey of inclusive growth. With that, I turn to the one and only Joy Doreen Bira, whom you've already met, to guide us through this morning's program. Thank you very, very much. Asante sana.
Thank you so much for those remarks as well. And you talked about climate neutrality as well as regenerative farming and prosperity. I think those are really what describe the 21st century farming today. Because if you're not talking about prosperity in agriculture, what else are you talking about really? Because we all must eat food every day, right? And the Leadership Academy is also going to be looking into the distribution channels as well. So I guess starting today and going forward, if you want to register for it or want to be a part of it, now is a good time to pay attention to how it's going to move on from here. And later on, we'll have a country manager who is going to be explaining further about the Leadership Academy and also how you can take part in it. And so, when we talk about including young people, there's so much that comes to mind. And I think we have a young farmer here in our audience, but he's also a digital farmer. When you talk about youth, you have to also add something that excites them, something like digital farming or the digital economy. And Ronald Dianga, I think, is one of the farmers that I've interacted with this morning as we were having breakfast. And he was telling me so many things about today's young farmer. And I want to know, Ronald, if you might, there's a cordless microphone somewhere that you can pick. And just tell me what your expectations are for today and what today's young farmer looks like in our country today. Because like you can see, today's young farmers wear suits. Today's young farmers wear suits. And they always ask questions like, do I actually have to be in the farm? Or can I just do the farming on my laptop? Yes, Ronald, what are your expectations today?
Thank you very much. It's quite surprising that a farmer is in a suit. But I think the reality is, if you hear the conversations going around that the next billionaires are going to come from agriculture, this is what they look like.
I love that. You are the face of the future agriculture billionaires.
Thank you very much. Just reflecting on your question, I think it's a really interesting question because first and foremost, when I was invited and I was told it's an agricultural event, that was the most exciting thing for me first. And then number two, just listening into the remarks that have been made, I think it's quite exciting to see that we can now finally have the wings to fly, because entrepreneurship is all about powering up an idea. And I have a host of my colleagues here. If you allow me, let them just wave. Poppy is right there, all the way from Migori. She is a farmer.
Right.
She is a farmer and also owns an agrovet. So for us coming here today is all about seeing how can we leverage on this opportunity to be able to just grow our businesses and also grow our farming, because the next phase of agriculture is going to harness all the opportunities to provide more jobs for our other fellow young people like ourselves. So really, it's quite exciting to see this opportunity, and I think we are very keen to follow through and see how can we tap into these wings and just fly our way to success.
There we go. Round of applause for him. Thanks a lot, Ronald. And I like that when you are mentioning your colleagues who are with you here today, I can see that there are so many women. And it's really encouraging to see that women are now taking the front row of agriculture, because they've always done so, but it's just that they've never been at the forefront. And so it's really good to see you right there, and young people as well, and the entire ecosystem and value chain of agriculture. So I would like to run us through this program here from now henceforth. At least now we understand that Yara is also in Uganda, in Tanzania, in Kenya, where it's domiciled or headquartered for Yara East Africa. And so we're going to have a conversation about what exactly farming looks like, but not just farming. You know, we're also going to have a conversation about the role of micro, small, medium enterprises in accelerating growth in Kenya's agriculture sector. Because many times we always look at it from the top coming down, but how about we look at it from, I don't want to use the word bottom up, but but bottom up it is, you know. The politicians have made this word so scary that every time you mention it, people are like, okay, now we know which side, you know, you are aligned to. But yeah, MSMEs play a key role in accelerating growth in the agriculture sector. And I want for us to have this conversation because economic development drivers are basically MSMEs, or micro, small, and medium enterprises, and they contribute to about a third of the country's GDP. And this is a main source of employment in Kenya today, as well as all other African countries where agriculture is a backbone to their economies. But digitization of agriculture and agribusinesses is something that we are just starting to get excited about. So while we say Kenya boasts of 7 million micro and small medium enterprises that generate 80% of the economy's jobs, we also need to make it make sense for them, because yes, they generate the jobs, but how do they scale? How do they move on? And what more can government and businesses do as well to ease the barriers for them in their sector? And how do we even attract young people to participate in these opportunities in the agriculture sector? So I'm going to invite my panelists with me this morning, who are going to share their insights. And I want to start by inviting our very first panelist. I'm going to say ladies first. So if I say ladies first, please understand me. Professor, please please understand if I say ladies first. All right, I'm going to start with Tabitha Ogutu, who is the community development enthusiast and youth leader focusing on women and youth. Please come and take a seat. You can also give a round of applause. And Carol Mumo, who is the manager of social impact, Yara Africa. Yeah, and I know we are not supposed to invite hosts at the beginning, but Carol, you could just understand me for that. Now I'm going to invite Professor Francis Wambalaba, who is a professor of economics at Chandaria School of Business at the United States International University that's based here in Kenya. And we have Shiram Baratam, who is the founder and chief mentor at Kuza Biashara. I hope I pronounced your name right. Did I leave out somebody? I don't think so. So, I don't know if you would want for me to sit with you on the panel, but I guess that's what it's looking like. Yeah, the microphone right here. So, like I said, it's quite interesting when somebody has to to test the microphones just to be sure. Probably, Tabitha, can you say hi to our audience? There we go. All right. Our microphones need to be turned on. You gonna try again? Good morning. All right. Yeah, let's share the microphone. Let's see.
Good morning. You can hear me now, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's much better. Can we test you?
Good morning.
Okay. Carol?
Good morning.
Hey, Professor?
The morning is good.
I love that. It's exciting to know that you know when you have professors on your panel, you really have to be extremely careful. So because you don't know if you should say doctor or you should say prof or professor. Prof is prof okay? Just for this morning. All right. It's great to have you all on this conversation, of course, because it's one that we must have to drive the agenda for economic development in Kenya and beyond. But I want to start by talking about the government's role in implementing and making sure that the voices of the micro and small medium enterprises are also seen and heard. And the government of Kenya actually established or set up the Micro and Small Enterprise Authority. I think that was back in 2012. And you know, when you look into what exactly the thinking behind this move was, you get to realize that there's so much as well that went into it, wanting to give a voice to young, but also interestingly making sure that they get value through their value chains and the different supply chains that they do have. And so I would want to pass my first question to Shuram, who is the founder and chief mentor for Kuza Biashara. There's so much that you're doing right now in terms of elevating what MSMEs are doing. But how do you see digitization and technology accelerating progress in this sector?
Yeah, thanks, Doreen. I heard you say that the average Kenyan farmer is 60-year-old.
According to a survey.
Yeah, so I believe it is 63 now. They've grown 3 years older. So if you now look at the other side, an average Kenyan is 19-year-old. There's a massive intergenerational crisis going on. And if you really look at the birth of Kuza Biashara, as the name says, we are in the business of growing businesses. When I say growing businesses, our focus has been to create opportunities for youth, women, and small business owners to learn, connect, and grow. Over the past decade plus, we learned that most of the small entrepreneurs, they don't know what they don't know. Till you show them a different way of doing it, and they are the first ones to run, and then connect with others, like-minded people, and then they grow. Now, the unintended consequence of some of these things. I heard you say there are 7 million small businesses in Kenya. So we learned something, the power of +1. When you empower some of these MSMEs, the first thing they do is they do something called +1. They bring one other person either from within their own families, or and then that's how the jobs are getting created. So 7 million MSMEs, if even each of them add one person, we can create 7 million jobs. And by the way, we have managed to create 153,000 new jobs just in the past 4 years. Now that's really the power of MSMEs, and that's the power of what the agriculture sector can do, because 70% of Kenyans are dependent on agriculture directly or indirectly. And that's the reason why, as Kuza Biashara, we've been actively working in the agriculture sector over the past 5 years, working closely with the governments, working with multilaterals like the World Bank, UN World Food Program, Farm to Market Alliance, and other private sector partners to bring this to fruition.
All right. Of course, you've talked about the rosy side, you know, and the good side of when you empower one, there's the +1 factor. But of course, there are some challenges as well that they experience. What innovations are there? Or maybe let me start by asking, what are some of those challenges? And what are the current innovations that are being created to act as a guard or solutions to the challenges that they're experiencing?
Yeah, specifically talking about Kenya, as you all know, Kenya is called the Silicon Savannah for Africa, right? So
Yeah.
there are more than 60 plus startup innovators, especially in digital agriculture space alone, who either have their direct presence here or operating through partners. And there's so many innovations that are popping up. Now the challenge is everyone is trying to reach the farmer on their own, and it's extremely difficult. Both the traditional companies, the digital innovators, and also the distributors, all of them are struggling to reach the farmers. And here is where I think COVID has taught us some extremely important lessons. I love calling this like the extreme conditions are a fertile soil for extreme innovation. Now, just in the last 3 years, we have seen a massive surge. Majority of them who've been doing telephone farming, as we all fondly call in Kenya, they've actually moved back to their villages doing farming themselves. Now, my colleagues here, like Paul, has actually been sharing from Nyeri and Central Kenya region, that a lot of these people, when they went back, they brought in a lot of innovations. They brought in their ability to convene other actors. And this is where fundamentally a lot of youth have been embracing agriculture. And I would love to learn also from other panelists here as to how they are embracing digital agriculture. But most importantly, we have a very favorable policy at a country level, the Agriculture Transformation Growth Strategy. And then a lot of multilaterals are working on specific programs to empower youth, women, and small businesses. And most importantly, the technology has arrived. And there are so many of these technologies available. And I want to summarize by saying that digital technologies are great, but you need a human user interface. And that's where the youth and the MSMEs play an extremely important role in landing some of these technologies on ground. And that's the big opportunity.
Now that you also mentioned earlier that there's an intergenerational crisis where you're saying now the average farmer is 19 years old, but if you do the mathematics, you get to 19 years old as the average age or median age for the young farmers. I want to bring in Tabitha because she's a young Kenyan influencer, but also one who is having keen interest as well in the agriculture sector. Tabitha, you've heard about the initiatives that the government is putting into place and also what the private sector is doing, what Sharon says is being done to encourage more MSMEs as well to play a key role in transforming the agriculture sector. But, are we getting it right from your perspective?
I think that's an absolutely a good question because it starts from the public participation of the youth in developing some of these policies around youth participation in agriculture and even in the digitalization process. I've heard him saying that, for example, that as youths or women who want to have access to these digital platforms, and the challenges are massive. And the big question I always ask, is it because these people who are supposed to be accessing these digital platforms or the softwares therein were not involved in the process of formulation? And therefore, when we are given, and when I talk about this, I'm talking from perspective of a youth farmer or a woman farmer in the rural areas of maybe CI where I come from, whom is actively involved in agriculture and will want to transition from just doing agriculture of, I'll say, one-on-one, and the global market perspective of getting into the digital space. And now you have a technology you want to introduce to them right hand. These people, first of all, as you understand that our education system in Kenya is not that which, from formulation, equipped us with the knowledge of IT. So it's by chance or by privilege that you get access to learning about information technology. So it's a privilege of the few. So what happens in the situation, and I'll want a response for that, when as a young person, maybe me have the privilege of knowing about IT so I can maneuver through the softwares and the digital space and marketing and getting to the global perspectives of agribusiness as a young person, as a young woman. What about that young person in the rural area? So maybe as a consideration, I'll therefore say that where we've reached, I think that moving forward, we also need to adopt what works for us by involving these people, especially if you're to go to the rural areas, in the process of formulation of these software sometimes, so that as you introduce it to them, they're able to understand, therefore, how they can do the uptake, therefore will reduce many of the challenges we encounter when we bring this to them forthright, yeah.
All right. And how do we encourage more young women, more women generally, just to engage in farming, in making sure that farming is, or agriculture is working for them and not the other way around? They are working for agriculture, but now it needs to work for them.
Absolutely. Working for us is the key thing. You know, women are industrious. I have grown up literally in a village in Siaya. I'll do reference with where I come from, yeah? I've been schooled through agriculture. I've been fed through agriculture. And as I speak about agriculture, I speak about it very firmly. Because looking at my parents then, if they had known how to do agriculture better, then they will be realizing the scales of economies, good production, how to do good processing, value addition. That, for example, I don't need just to use, you know, sometimes we have the mango seasons in our areas. It's something that happens, but they do not know the value attached to this, how they can do value addition to what they have, even as just the normal crops or even fruits. So from a point of perspective, women, what have been putting them down in terms of doing agriculture in a large scale, or transitioning from small scale to large scale. One of it, I think, has been an issue about the land. You know, Kenya, as I always say, is one thing for us to talk about the problem that we face. Like now, women have issues related to the land, and it's a policy issue. We do not have proper policy frameworks that touches on even the youth and women access to land. So for example, I want to be very honest. If I'm married, I'm still young, I'm not, but I'm just using myself as an example. If I was married somewhere, maybe in Kiambu, and then my husband decided that I can't use my land, or the land that I found there, it is his land, but by the virtue of ownership now we can co-own it. Then he says, I tell him I want, for example, to do cereal farming, and he says no. I tell you, the women who can't rise above that and say, you know, I really want to do this. So the fact that we do not have access to land becomes an issue, even as the government been saying that for me, my dad, he can give me a parcel of land. I should be inheriting land from my dad. It is something that as culture, they hold it not very dear to them. So they wouldn't give us those lands. So women, that is one thing that is holding us back, because we cannot talk about agriculture and we don't have the land and the access. Mm-hmm. Second, I think, is finance. You realize that I want to speak for the rural woman. Many times, these women, first of all, they do not have sources of economic income or empowerment. So we're talking about agribusiness as a tool towards empowering the rural woman, right? But you realize that in the long run, the fact that I do not have a startup capital, and I've seen the government availing many funds through, the structures from the county. We have the WEZO fund, name them, the NGAV fund, and all those ones. Now, if a woman would want to access these particular funds, the process of access is not that which I like say a woman who maybe would want to do agribusiness but never went to school very well. And it's not a problem, because agribusiness is not chosen for the few, right? Everyone can do agribusiness if they have the training and the knowledge required. Right. So the fact that they can't even do proper proposal writings and proper business planning for their particular business ventures they want to get into, even it's agribusiness and entrepreneurship, it becomes a challenge. And the process, they're very tiresome. Another issue, I think, which hinders the women literally in getting access to or getting into the bigger production of agriculture, is the fact that women, as they are, will assume that today all of us who are seated here have the knowledge that agribusiness can be done like this, and the transition is this. It's very smooth for us. But what about that woman in the village, in the rural areas of Kiambu, Nyeri, whom of course understand that I really like to do agribusiness at a very large scale level. Mm-hmm. But where do I get the information? Then so how can we get the structures in place that allows for the access of information on agribusiness. And that's why I think the digital platform comes in. So when we can have a digital platform that works for us, such that it's so simple for even that woman or that youth at those particular rural levels who have not been able to, because you need also to understand that not all of them were able to go to school maybe up to the 844 education system of Kenya, can understand and get access to information. I think it will go a great way. Maybe Doreen, for me just to add something in a minute. I've just remembered when you asked me a question about the youth and also in doing agribusiness. You see, we are focused so much on production, and of course we are not 100% sufficient as a country. And the youths, if I was very young those time before I really learned about agriculture, and agriculture is a whole value chain. We have processing, we have value addition. I'll tell you, going to digging, if you mention agriculture, I think about plowing the land. That is the only thing I can do. So the biggest gap, I think, also about the youth and the embrace for agriculture, and even the young women, is them not understanding that agriculture literally involves a lot of steps and a lot of things. And actually, you can just identify a niche and take part in it, and you're still involved in active agribusiness and active agriculture.
All right. Quite a number of things that she's mentioned. Of course, access to land and then capital. And there's the fact that, I guess women just need to put one step forward so that they're able to be seen. And so I want to come to Prof. Prof, there's so many ideas and solutions that are being fronted and ways in which we can do better, be better in the value chain, supply chain as well. But why is it that this is not catching on? Why are we still stuck in our way of thinking? Is it like a mindset issue, and because professors have the answers to nearly everything, I guess we're turning to you now to explain to us why this is actually, we're hitting a wall somehow.
Thank you for that question. And yes, we may pretend to have all the answers, but actually all the answers come from the stakeholders.
Right.
So we just collect them and then share out that information. So like hearing what is going on here, I'm learning. Learning is a continuous process, and that's what we do. We just try to put it in a context. Now, one of the things, and we have heard that the average farmer is 60, 63. By the way, there is also some new information that is saying it's 34. And so that's also an issue. And therefore, for us as researchers, we need to go deep and look at it and say, what is it actually? What's the answer? But that said, we need to have evidence in terms of what is happening on ground, because oftentimes we start an activity and we haven't put any infrastructure in place on how the process is going to look like, and we don't know even when is it succeeding and when is it not. And so part of what academia does is to collect that evidence, to put the evidence together, and that can only happen if there is a partnership. One of the things that, when universities were created actually, they were supposed to be co-creators of knowledge with the stakeholders. The schools of business, MBAs, were supposed to be mentors working with business. But sometimes academia starts to move further away from ground, and we find that things get lost in between. And so can you imagine if we have business such as Yara, which is industry. Of course, as industry, they are looking at efficiency. But then you bring in government, and government is bringing in an enabling environment. Then you bring in civil society, and civil society is reaching out to those probably populations that may not be reached. And then you bring in academia, the academia that tries to create the universality so that this information is actually stretched, not just limited to the business, not just limited to the government, not the civil society, but everyone, so that you are looking at both the long run and also geographically. And so that is the where academia comes in, and therefore when you have that type of situation and there is evidence that has been built, then we build on that. When we build on that evidence, then there is going to be more continuity.
All right. I love that you talk about continuity because it plugs into progress a lot. But now when we're looking at, say, some of the innovations that an organization or a company like Yara bring to the fore, things like farm weather, that plug into helping farmers on a large scale basically understand how climate change is impacting their produce. But then on the other hand, we have a setback of failure to adapt to technologies. How do we deal with an issue like that? Because while data is important, it's another thing if this data is not being put to good use.
Exactly. Now, in terms of failures, and farmers usually actually, we always say, okay, let's adapt this technology. But a farmer actually also does their own calculations. If I've survived on this, and now you are telling me that this technology has a certain probability of succeeding, but there is another probability that it will fail. And if they are just barely making it, chances are that they will choose not to adapt to that technology. And that's where now, as I mentioned, the government's enabling environment jumps in, because they have to help this farmer now know that there is security in leaping to this other end and try this new technology. One of the things that we have done, we have created what we call the living labs. And the living lab is when we go to the farmer's field, that becomes our laboratory, and any intervention that we are making on their premises. And that also gives them assurance. And by the way, when we do this living lab, we make sure we are working with the county so that there is that enabling environment that is going to push that process forward. And through that living lab, you are able to test certain things, and even if they fail, it's okay. After all, failing is simply learning what does not work, and then you move on to what works. And so failing is okay, and that's what the living lab tries to do, is to enable people to fail, but they know that there is a hand to hold them.
All right. Mumo or Carol, now I come to you because traditionally Yara has been providing solutions in the ecosystem to make sure that the lives of the entire value chain are getting better, but also doing it responsibly and sustainably as well. Businesses, have a certain traditional way of doing things, and they're okay with this traditional way of doing things. When you try to disrupt this traditional way of doing things, there's definitely going to be a challenge there. But social impact is now something that companies and organizations are starting to embrace, and they're doing it to make sure that it's not just the organization that's getting the credit for it, but it's benefiting people on the ground. But what kind of change, what kind of impact are we looking at from Yara to everyone in the value chain?
Thank you, Joy. I have been in the private sector for about 20 years now. And when I started, we were mostly talking about donations. I think you remember those days. And the evolution has been there. It's been slow.
Yeah.
We moved from donations to CSRs, CSR activities, with companies having departments just focusing on CSR.
Yeah.
And we're still evolving, which is a very positive thing.
And you moved into sustainability reporting.
Correct. Sustainability reporting. And now the world is moving, and the companies are moving too, to social impact, which is about touching their lives in a much deeper way, stakeholders and communities in a much deeper way. We are here to celebrate Yara Kenya's ambitions on social impact and also its commitment, because we have, Yara Kenya has started embedding the social impact goals into business. So it's no longer about a standalone department that works by itself. It's about embracing the social impact ambitions and goals into business, making sure that it's within the business priorities and it's not a standalone anymore. We are within the business. Yara is also, as a whole and as a large, is embedding sustainability and social impact too in its goals, apart from Kenya, in all the rest of the countries in Asia and Africa. And we are thinking about performance reporting, you know, adding this into our performance reporting, being accountable to all our actions, not only as a corporate organization, but also as leaders and also as individuals. I see other companies doing this as well. We are not the only ones. We have other companies, even within the agriculture sector, doing this, which is very encouraging. Can we do more? Definitely. Are there opportunities for us to do more? Yes, and we must do more. And I think the updates we got from Subhashini this morning shows and it displayed our intentionality as Yara, where we want to go and where the future is. So in a nutshell, I see the corporate industry and the private industry embracing social impact as the next big thing.
All right. And I know we're probably going to get into this in just a short while, but how do you think the Leadership Academy is going to help in terms of making sure that people's mindsets are changing and how they do business is also changing for us to look into the real benefit of sustainability?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. I think Tabitha touched a bit of it. She touched about the challenges that women and youth and businesses as a whole experience.
Yeah.
And Shri also mentioned where technology can come in. Without delving into what William is going to talk about and what the launch is going to be about, I see the Leadership Academy addressing those pain points. And it's a tried and tested system. It will not be the first time we're doing it in Kenya. And from it, we see businesses improving. We see mentality and mindset changing. We see businesses growing, and therefore giving the business owners, especially in the rural area, hope. And we see them change their lives. So in a nutshell, that is what I would say without preempting into William's speech.
All right, so in closing, because Shuram has also been silent for a minute, so I'm just going to, I'm going to let us all close. In terms of how do we make sure that MSMEs are being part of the entire driving force behind the agriculture sector, how do we accelerate this? Well, they're already doing great because they are the drivers of economic development, but how do we accelerate this even more to plug into the future of prosperity and also the future of 21st century skills that we're currently pushing as part of the SDGs all over the world? Shuram, I'll start with you.
I'll be brief, and I think that's exactly the birth of Leadership Academy. If you remember, I said most of these SMEs, MSMEs, they don't know what they don't know. Till you get to understand there's a better way of doing it, and they are the ones to take and run with it. So the whole idea of the Leadership Academy, which William is going to share in a few minutes, is all about giving the power to these MSMEs, making them understand their true potential, giving them a set of toolkits with which they can actually now run in a sustainable way and grow their businesses. And trying not just being focused on business alone, but also making a difference in their communities, but their own families, and the women in the families, and especially the girl child. You see this entire ecosystem. They say it takes a village to grow a child.
Yeah.
I would say it takes an ecosystem to make a change happen. And here is an opportunity for us to put all our heads together and hands together to make this difference.
Great. Tabitha?
First of all, I also forgot to say that the modern farmer, this is the face of the modern farmer, the modern youth farmer. So this is how future farmers billionaire will look like and more. So for me, I think my parting shots will be around youth tapping into the opportunities and understanding that agriculture is as viable as any other career. And I think when you talked about the mind changing the mindset through the Leadership Academy. Something that I have actually had encounters with so much. When I was starting up in my community empowerment journey, first of all, you'll tell a youth who has graduated and has a degree, and you tell them, you do not need to now get into these other vices, because for the lack of jobs after them getting the degrees and going to school and all that, they look for other ways of getting money, because, the economy is hard, right? So they'll opt to come to Nairobi or other cities to get, employment. And employment in this city also, there's scarcely available for those people who are here. So the mindset is something that I'll pass across, that the youth should understand that agriculture is not just what I think we have been preconditioned mentally to believe it is. There's a number of things you can do. You can actually take part in a few or a different niche along the agricultural value chain, whether it's value addition or processing. And I would like to ask the stakeholders here today that our youth are very embracive. And maybe one thing, as I finish, Doreen, I was wondering now that we are talking about the rural youth. I think that is who you're addressing. Today we are in Nairobi, right? Yes. We are not like in Nyeri or Murang'a, the rural areas. Mm-hmm. So there is a youth who has come to Nairobi to look for employment. And I'm talking from a point of interaction, and I know this, yeah? And it's not that they came to look for employment because they didn't know, or lack of better thinking. They didn't know that agriculture existed. They lacked knowledge. So maybe also it's upon that time that we consider the youth in the slums and how we can help them transition their minds and start also going back maybe to the villages and start doing agriculture. So for me, we need to make agriculture attractive for the youth.
Make agriculture attractive for the youth.
Yes,
thank you so much, Tabitha. Yeah. Prof, I'm coming to you now to get your parting shot in terms of accelerating the role of MSMEs as well in the agriculture sector. How do you think we should move this forward?
Now, there is a saying that if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to reach far, go with someone. And what I would say is that there is need, I would re-emphasize that partnership. It creates a critical mass. If you look at the value chain, without the distributor, you may produce whatever you are producing, it's not going anywhere. Mm-hmm. And the distributor that by themselves will not reach anywhere. It has to take the whole value chain to get there.
Okay, the entire value chain. Carol, do I wind up with you? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you for that. Without preempting again William's presentation, I think this is a very good day. We have come of age. I would encourage the business owners, especially within the Yara network, to apply for the Leadership Academy. I believe it will bring in more value to their business, change their mentality, and we'll be able to see them grow. And when they grow, they build up the community. As our topic is, thriving farmers, thriving futures. If they succeed, we succeed, the farmers succeed, and we have a future for our children as well.
And the economy grows as well.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much. I appreciate. Thank you very much. And I know maybe some of us had some questions. Some of us had some questions, but I guess we're going to save those for a later time after we've had our country manager's presentation. Thank you very much. Another round of applause for my panelists. And so, by the way, let's appreciate our drummers over there at the back. They're doing a great job, and they came here for a specific reason. In agriculture, when you're starting the planting season, I'm sure you guys sometimes hear some drums where the farms are. When was the last time we went to a farm, like a real farm, by the way? When was the last time you were at a farm? Okay, those who have been to a farm in the last 1 week, please raise up your hand. That's just a handful. What are the rest of us doing? Are we just eating food? All right, but yeah, planting season is normally embraced when people see the rains or when farmers see the rains back in the villages or where the farms are. The drums actually do make a lot of communication. And so we brought them here specifically to take part in that. So a round of applause for those guys at the back there. All right, and so it's now time for us to, by the way, I hope that I did not stifle anyone's questions, because if we had any questions, or did we have any questions? In between, did we have questions? I guess silence means no. We were all happy with the conversation that we just had. So I want to invite our country manager now to, first of all, tell us about the Leadership Academy, and then he is going to officially launch it, and then you're going to hear about how you can participate or register for it and take part in it as well. So allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to welcome Mr. William Ngeno, who is the country manager for Yara Kenya.
Thank you, Joy Doreen. And I welcome all of you. I think after this, going after this good conversation, it could not be more encouraging. And going back to your story, Joy Doreen, I've seen your dissection of renewable energy, and I can see you have a little bit of insight on the agri-space. So it's good to have you also here today. It will only be good if I start by introducing my team. I would welcome my dear colleagues. Just a stand up and hello to our guest. You know, that's our culture. You know, when you have guests, you have to introduce yourself. And it's not me, myself, it's the team that is doing all this. A proud team that I would like to show all of you. Please, my dear colleagues, maybe you stand up where you are. Yes, give it up to our colleagues. Thank you very much. Our dear guests, partners, the media, glad to have you this morning. And really, we are not new in Kenya. When we started in 1994, if you ask a farmer, they knew a name called Chapameli. Some of, the 63-year-old farmers will still call it. But 2004, of course, we officially changed to Yara. So Yara East Africa is a whole subsidiary of Yara International ASA. Proud to be in Kenya for more than 25 years. Actually, we are clocking 28. So we celebrated our silver jubilee a few years ago. So we come in with a strong heritage, a heritage of understanding the local perspective, bringing in international experience, global research, and curating it to fit to the needs of our local market. It makes me proud this morning as our Vice President, Subhashini, showed us our new ambition to grow a nature-positive food future. It couldn't be a good moment for all of us to be here today because, ladies and gentlemen, is a turning moment. We are going to hit 10 billion world population in a few years. I know we've all had this in conferences, in meetings and everything, and we think it's far away. Now it's hitting me that it's actually not far away. It's hitting us that it's actually tomorrow, and that tomorrow needs investment today. The idea of our new ambition, of course, will not be driven by Yara alone. It calls for more collaboration, partnerships. And we feel proud to have you to accept to join us today as we signal this new ambition. Our rural economies will thrive if we put momentum. We put momentum to the businesses to grow in those rural economies. That is the new way and the solid way to be able to transform and to make jobs creation a reality. I've had good stories here, the youth and the women. If we have to drive back growth into the rural economies, we have to make it appetizing. And by the way, as by said by the previous speakers, farming is cool, and we can attest to that today. I know 99.1% of my colleagues, they're involved in farming. If you noticed, it's a very young generation. If you noticed, it's more also ladies and women in the room. So it's the direction internally that we are solidifying that this is not only internal, but we're also going external with our ambitions. With this high aspiration that we have committed, of course, I will ask, yes, there we go. Specifically narrowed down to Yara, Kenya. As previously indicated by our Vice President, Kenya is a key focus market. And out of all our pillars, today here we are cementing on the economic part, which is our drive on MSMEs. I'm sure most of you know that 2 days ago, actually Kenya celebrated MSME Day. So it could not also be a good moment that we are launching this today, that we are going in line with the government aspiration. So by 2030, we want to empower digitally 2 million farmers, which means have them included and access and enablement into the knowledge. So we will have 2 million farmers connected. Talking about women and youth, we would have reached 295,000 women and youth, and that means solid economic empowerment, providing them with reliable economic opportunities to be able to run sustainable and viable businesses. We want to provide that catalytic support, which today's program is a signal of that foundation, of that pillar, of inclusive prosperity. Prosperity will be a catalyst for enablement of our communities, the much needed rural economic development, much opportunities for our youth. Local economic development, of course, 3,500 MSMEs empowered, where we will provide knowledge to enable them to grow their businesses sustainably. They say it's easy to open the business, but to remain on top is the challenge. And no better partners than Kuza, who've got also this experience, that will be our champion in this program. Yara Kenya is a market leader. Since 5 years ago, we're the market leaders in the business. However, we have to grow our business sustainably. And we grow this through our channel partners who are present here today. We will go deeper to ensure that at least 3,500 MSMEs are thriving. We want to see their business growing because this is going to be a catalyst to economic development. 3,500 at a minimum jobs will be created through this ambition. And of course, more important than ever, the news has been flooded with food security. It can be many debates, but avoiding political discussion, there's no shortcut. I've seen a lot of manifestos coming now, but food productivity is the key pillar to be able to feed the population in Kenya. 3 million people in Kenya right now cannot have good access to good food. So we're looking at 10 million through the work we do, through the good portfolio that we put to the market, through our channel partners, we will be able to feed 10 million plus people. And it's not only feeding, it's also nutritious. Through our solution, the harvest that will come out of this will be nutritious, because we find challenges, and we all know that the rural economies, it could be a challenge with a balanced diet. I saw in the news last night a discussion around with the UN and IMF around the funding into the future about food. And actually, it was key to see that everybody is realizing that protein is not, we can't take it for granted, that is accessible to every household. And that really encouraged me, because this is what we've been discussing, and it's going to be a pillar for us to provide that through our work, we will be able to reach and provide food security for 10 million people and nutritious foods in that case. So 2.5 million Kenyans, through our ambition, will be able to get nutritious food. It takes courage to change, as most of the speakers have said, but we are dedicated to make it happen soon. Narrowing down to today. So this is our ambition. Today, we are signaling the start of Yara Leadership Academy, which is the pillar on MSMEs. What does that mean? It means promoting the development and catalyst economies of our channel partners. They are always in touch with the farmers. How can we make their businesses more viable? So providing them with this Leadership Academy, which is actually MBA inspired. Of course, I know we have a lot of MBA in these rooms, but can you imagine the farmer, there's a debate if it's 34 or 64-year-old, being able to walk to the nearest channel partner, be it a distributor or a stockist selling inputs, and get educated on a very high level. Can you imagine that rural business, that small business down in the village, thriving, being able to grow tenfold from where it is? They will need a lot of logistics. They will need a lot of labor. So this is what we are looking at. 3,500 plus MSMEs being able to thrive and grow sustainably, because this is where the ripple effect will come from. Again, a famous saying, if you tickle the earth or the soil, it will laugh with a good crop. That is our business in Yara. We tickle the soil, and it comes with a good crop, so we are able to feed our country. With this new goal, Yara has committed to invest $1 million in Kenya to build this ambition on MSMEs. That will go into driving the competence on an MBA-based learning for them to run sustainable businesses. It was good because I know we have our channel partners here today. They know what they go through every day in terms of bookkeeping, savings, working capital management, growth for the future. Businesses need to plan for the future. We know that. But this is a culture that we need to take 2 steps down to the rural businesses. Plan for the future. We've been talking about digital transformation. That cannot happen if we don't enable MSMEs to be able to run with this and drive that agenda. So it's a key pillar, and that's why it's in the forefront, because it's a key pillar that will actually drive everything else around our social impact. Many people have asked us, what is your ambition in terms of reaching the last mile? And we've said we don't want farmers to go beyond 5 kilometers to get access to products and knowledge. But we will start by saying we want every ward in this country to have a strong MSME, so that you know at every point of time they can get access. Not all farmers can get access to us in Crown Plaza. But the rural economies, if we have vibrant MSMEs, we will be able to fast track all SDGs, which I know Subhashini is very passionate about it. We will be able to fast track all those ambitions that we put at the UN level. So with this significant investment, $1 million going into supporting MSMEs and their transformation, internally, we've also positioned ourselves. You can see a strong team here, working every day entirely to change our DNA, to take the courage to do business unusual, Currently, we are market leaders. We can stay like this. I mean, we can always be on top and move quite fast. But Yara, we are here to do good. We are doing business with purpose. We want to change, bring transformation into the society. We can do this through driving the agenda of empowering our MSMEs, most of them our channel partners. We have been, of course, a catalyst for partnerships all across, local, international, at corporate, and at local level, of course. And most of you will attest to that. Some of them in the room today, from the civil society, from the private sector, financial sector, and all across, NGOs. Just to mention a few, strong partners like Cooperative Bank, FTMA, Farm to Market Alliance in full, which brings together like-minded key partners to look into growth in Africa. Gatsby, who we have worked deeply with stockist development, bringing competence in agronomic knowledge. Right now they are actually called Gatsby, so that's the new platform where they are. Corteva, provider of good quality seeds, just to mention a few. We have diverse partners, and we will welcome this partnership going into the future. We are a catalyst for that, because as I started, the journey calls for collaboration, key partnerships. Of course, through partnerships, we bring synergies, because MSMEs are battling with different kind of challenges, just like the big business like ourselves, you know, working capital, cash flows, vision for the future, risks, you know, everything that is surrounding the business is applying to them. So synergies is very important, to bring partners that can leverage around this and be able to bring wholesome solutions. We will steer this by empowering them to have the basics, and provide them wings to grow, to be able to be bubbling businesses. Our new partners, KUSA, of course, proud to be associated with them, will be steering this, and we will hear in a short while the details. USIU, Professor, steered by Professor here, very good to be partnering with you on this long journey. I can assure you it's going to be passionate. The way agriculture is passionate, you couldn't have said it better. It's a way of life, and I think you get addicted to it. Sometimes farmers make losses and profits, but it's a way of life. But we are here dedicated to ensure that MSMEs and farmers at the end of the day are also making profit throughout the year. Build resilience in the businesses, because as businesses grow, there has to be transition also to younger generations, and that will be covered also in this ambition that we start today. So we will be keen to expand the partnerships going forward to drive this agenda. I think I've passed my minutes. It's so passionate that we could talk all along, but it gives me great honor now that today, three major things. In summary, it signals the rollout of our social impact framework in Kenya, which you can see on the screen, the 4 key pillars. Today, more than ever, the start of our Yara Leadership Academy, which will bring prosperity to our rural economies, thriving MSMEs, and create ripple effect to economic development. And of course, this can only happen if we have participants joining in. We are targeting 500 of those MSMEs to run immediately under this academy. So as I close, is a call of action for application. It will be a transparent process, and Shri will join us shortly to explain that. But it will be transparent, so it's my duty to call for those applications. we will be very happy to see quite a lot of application to start the journey of transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for listening to me, and I look forward to working together with my colleagues here, our Vice President and her team, our partners, both old and new, and the new that will join us eventually, some of them not in this room, taking this journey. And I am very sure 2030, which is tomorrow, we will be going down in history to have been agents of good change, doing good for our communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ngeno. And I'm just going to request you to move to the podium because the rest of us have been silent for quite some time. So I want us to play a game. I mean, why would you come to an event and not even play a single game? I'm not going to ask you to dance a TikTok video. Don't worry about that. I'm just going to ask us to count down and as we launch the Leadership Academy. So I just want to invite a few more people to the podium who are going to join Mr. Ngeno in counting this down. And the rest of us are going to do the counting with Mr. Ngeno as well. So I want to invite Mr. David Moniki, who is within our audience. Mr. David Moniki, please move to the podium. Moses Moremi, Mr. Moses Moremi, if you could also please walk to the podium. Patrick Makoha, Mr. Patrick Makoha. Patrick Makoha, please walk to the podium as well. A round of applause for Patrick Makoha. Miss Beatrice Opio. There we go. A round of applause for Miss Beatrice. And Sri Bharatam also kindly walk to the podium. Mr. Bharatan, kindly walk to the podium as well. Professor, of course, Professor. And we also have Miss Shab, our Vice President. Right, the name just skipped my mind at the very last moment. But yeah, so these ladies and gentlemen are going to count down to the launch of our Leadership Academy. And by the way, the Leadership Academy is being launched today in 2 countries, that is in Kenya as well as India. So the rest of us, the ladies will count 10, 8, 10, 8, 6. Okay, the even numbers are for the ladies. And the odd numbers are for the gentlemen, right? Are we ready? Are we ready? So that's the game we're going to play. I don't know if... are we ready? Are we ready, Charles? Okay. Ladies, are we ready? Are we late? I can't hear the ladies. Ladies, are we ready? All right. Gentlemen, are we ready? Are you ready? Sorry. Are you ready? All right, let's go. So, ladies, let's start. 10. Okay. All right. 10. And the gentlemen are saying? Oh, we're already on 6. Okay. All right, let's start this again. This gentleman is moving too fast. All right. Okay. So we all know the ladies are doing the even numbers, the gentlemen are doing the odd numbers. All right. So let's begin, Charles. We're ready. Okay. 8, 6, 4, 2. Yay! Congratulations to Yara for the launch of the Leadership Academy for MSMEs. I'm sure this is going to be a game changer for our producers and everybody in the value chain. So big congratulations. And possibly our country manager can let us know how we can take part. Mr. Ngeno, if you could let us know how we can take part, how do we register, how do we be a part of it? The rest of us can please.
Thank you, Joy Doreen. Thank you, everyone. An exciting moment. This part I will invite Shri himself to be able to give us the details, please.
Thank you, William. Can we all give a big hand for this MSME Leadership Academy and for all the 3 big announcements that Yara Kenya has made today. It's my privilege to be here as the leader from Kuza Biashara. I am the co-founder and chief mentor of Kuza Biashara. As most of you in this room know, we've been around for almost a decade plus, working closely, creating opportunities for youth, women, and micro and small business entrepreneurs across Kenya and 11 other countries. I also want to share that it's been a real honor and a privilege to be selected as the key partner for Yara's Africa-Asia Social Impact Initiative. And I want to proudly say that, as much as you can see from my color of my skin, I'm from India, Kuza Biashara is a Kenyan innovation. And Kuza is now going into Asia with Yara Africa Asia as a Kenyan innovation and not the other way around. So, that's a good one. So, our journey with Yara started I think about 100 days ago, not too long. And in the last 100 days, each day has been almost like a week plus. This team that William just introduced, they look very innocent, but very demanding. And by all means, I think so, because we don't have time and we have very little time left to make a difference. In the last 100 days plus, we've actually embarked on designing this entire program based on 3 core principles. Number 1, we want to be agile. Number 2, we want to be accountable to what we are doing. And number 3, we want to bring in transparency. Starting with agility, we actually went, Doreen, you said bottoms up. I don't know where Doreen is. But fundamentally, we followed the principles of going to the grassroots level, speaking to the farmers, speaking to the youth, speaking to the young entrepreneurs, influencers, and most importantly, the distributors, dealers, and the Yara network. Thank you so much, guys, for sparing time and educating us on what are some of the possibilities and how we can go about creating leaders at a grassroots level from the rural communities across Kenya. So based on those core principles, we then started also speaking to the other market leaders. We heard the country manager speak about some of the key anchor partners. We've actually taken feedback from all of them. And that's the birth of the Leadership Academy. And I also want to give credit to our strategic partners, Farm to Market Alliance and World Food Program, Simon, and the father of Leadership Academy actually is in this room, Sebastian, who really challenged us. Seb, was it 2019 when we had this long conversations which went for almost 11 hours, when Sebastian very passionately said, we are developmental actors, but we want to become jobless. That is, we want to create something on the ground which will run beyond ours. And here is a beginning, and not just a beginning. This here is where you would actually see, Seb, this is happening, and not just in one country, across 7 countries. The second thing is also around mentorship. And I actually said as part of the panel discussion that most entrepreneurs don't know what they don't know, and they are very shy. And they open up in a one-on-one kind of a safe environment. The whole principle of Leadership Academy is to create that safe environment for these small business owners. And when I say entrepreneurs, we are not just talking about 70-year-old or 50-year-old. We are talking of engaging right from 20 plus all the way to 70 plus. We are not going to leave anyone behind. And here is where the transparent process of how we are going to participate and get mentored is something that I would actually speak about in the next couple of minutes. Can we show the process, Charles? So today, as you all witnessed, this is the official launch. That's the 1st of July. And this is parallelly getting launched both in India and Kenya. And in Kenya, here are the timelines. The call to applications are kicking off today. You would actually also see the process, the URL from where you can participate from the Yara Kenya website. The call to application would be open till 15 July. let's not be Kenyans, let's not do on the 14th midnight. Guys, here is the time. It's going to be extremely competitive. And so we want the best to get this opportunity. In the first cohort, we're only going to pick 500. And there are a lot of people already expressing interest. In fact, I've received so many text messages as we are talking. The shortlisting and the interview process is going to happen over 2 weeks' time. And this is where we would actually be working very closely with our other strategic partner, USIU. We heard Professor Wambalava speaking about how passionately USIU has built a very strong evaluation framework, which is what is going to be applied right from the way we are going to baseline who these participants are and how we are going to track the progress on the economic development side and also the other goals that Yara has set up. So the successful candidates would be announced on the 1st of August, and the program is going to get kicked off from 15th of August. It's going to be an exciting program, and this would be rolled out across Kenya. So all of you who are in this room and all those who are watching online, please, please, please don't wait for 14th midnight. Please apply, participate, and make the best use of this opportunity. And the graduation day is going to be, we are still working mostly the last week of November or first week of December. And it's going to be, you are not going to graduate like the way we all do, but the graduation is going to be a step number 1 for you to become the responsible leaders in the last mile, first mile, and be the change agents that the whole country is looking up to. I'm happy to take questions. We'll be here even after this ceremony, and let's collaborate and let's all learn, connect, and grow and make a difference. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I'm going to invite our Vice President as well to make a few remarks before we can close. So I hope you understand that today is the day that you start to make those applications. The microphone is yours, please.
So apply and please pass the word around, but really just a second, because it would be remiss of me if I didn't call out 4 particular people this morning. There are teams and there are teams and there are winning teams, and within those winning teams, there are some that make every moment happen. So today happened because of 4 specific people on the Yara Kenya team, and I want to specifically call them out. Carol Mumo, Frida Watome, Samuel, and Charles. Can you please come up here so we can honor you in the way you deserve to be honored? So just as Kuza Biashara is a Kenyan innovation, Yara Africa and Asia Social Impact Secretariat is headquartered in Kenya, in Nairobi, in William Nyeno's office. And this is the team, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to lead the ambition that you heard about today. Thank you. And with that, just my very own personal thanks to all of you for making time. We ran massively over, for patiently being here with so much elegance and grace. Thank you. And to Joy Doreen to close us out.
Thank you all so much, and thank you to the Yara team once again for an incredible job, and I guess you're going to have fun. Are we also allowed? Am I allowed to apply? Am I? All right, I'm part of the focus group, women and youth, right? So yeah, let's register, let's be part of it and make sure that it's making sense for us as well. Because the 4 key areas are basically digital inclusion, inclusive prosperity, local economic development, as well as partnerships for zero hunger. Of course, we're looking at reduced hunger, but also improved nutrition, because we're all about responsibility, right? And so we've come to the close. I would like to say thank you to each and all of us for making time, first of all, to come and gather here and be part of this event. And I guess we are going to be the eyes and ears for everybody out there to make sure they are part of the Leadership Academy that's going to start its application process today. And then on the 15th of August, The academy is going to go live, and I guess this is going to happen for 12 weeks until the 29th of November, if I got that right from the process. So between the 29th and the 2nd of December of this year, that's when the graduation is going to be happening. So if you know anybody who is interested in being a part of the Leadership Academy, please make sure you let them know. I also want to say a special thanks to our media. I know a lot of times we go unnoticed, but thank you so much for making this event also part of your coverage. I appreciate you. And I think I saw a few of my former colleagues in the audience as well. Thank you all so much for making time for it. And to each and everyone, the young people who have been streaming online, thank you all so much. Continue to send in your feedback to Yara Kenya's social media platforms if you have any, and I guess they will put that together, aggregate it, and share feedback with you as well. So thank you all so much for listening to me. I hope it has been worth your while, me guiding you throughout today. And a round of applause to our drummers at the back there. So I guess it's now planting season. So I don't know, is there like a specific drum for planting, because we are planting the Leadership Academy this time round? I don't know how you're going to do that, but probably in about 10 seconds. How do we introduce the Leadership Academy as a planting season? Okay, on a count of 3, I'm going to count you down. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. All right. Thank you, thank you, thank you all. There we go. Should I start dancing? All right. Thank you all so much. And they're going to entertain us as well. If you want to have some more food, it's right there. It's available for you. In case you came in a little late, you can still catch up on your breakfast. So thank you all so much. And have a great day. And please be part of the Leadership Academy, as well as follow what Yara is all about and send the message out there to everybody. Thank you.
What?